Well, folks, it's finally time for me to plant my pineapple top. And it honestly is well overdue. Look at these roots. Yeah, she's saying she wants to be in some dirt so she can start growing and produce me a pineapple. And yes, I did call her she, but I haven't come up with a name for her. So if you have some names for her, good names, put it in the comments, please. So what I'm going to do, since I'm in zone 8, I'm going to put her in a pot. If you live in zone 10 to 12, a pineapple plant can easily be planted outdoors because you have the right climate. In my climate, the temperatures are going to get too low for me to keep it outside planted in the ground. Freezing temperatures will kill this plant. So what type of pot do you need? Most important thing is you need something with some good drainage holes, and even though you can up pot it, I prefer to just go straight to the 5-gallon pot. This one's just a little bit over 5 gallons, so this plant can live in this pot until I get a pineapple from it. So that's the first step. And of course, the reason I'm putting it in a pot is because when the temperatures get too low, I'm going to take this baby, put her inside close to a sunny window location, and make sure she gets plenty of sun so she can keep growing during the early fall or late fall, the winter, whatever. I'm just trying to keep her protected. Treat her like you would a science project or a baby. You want to protect this baby because it's literally going to take 18 months to 2 years, maybe a little more, depending on where you live, for this plant to produce one pineapple. Now, you will get some little pups from the plant, but I'll get into that later on. So, what I'm going to put in this bucket with this, I'm going to use mushroom compost, some soil, some perlite with sand, and some peat moss, because peat moss will help keep the soil more acidic also. And I'm going to, well, let me show you what I'm going to do. Now make sure, I'm trying to measure this out fairly evenly. 1 part peat moss, 1 part soil, 1 part sand with perlite. That's for drainage. I'm sorry for turning my back on you. How rude. I should have brought a mask for perlite because really you don't want to breathe this stuff in, because you just gotta Google what it is. It's some type of volcanic rock, and it can be not necessarily good for your lungs. So didn't get any dust flowing up, so I'm good. I'm going to mix this together, partially because it's going to be kind of difficult to mix everything once I add the mushroom compost in here. So I'm going to get somewhat of a mixture this way, and I'll come back and mix the rest afterwards. Ah, yes, the old mushroom compost. Very good for adding to a lot of your parts of your vegetable garden. I've used it in berry bushes. I'm using it in the trees. And once I'm finished with, I have a half bag here. I have another half bag on my deck because I used it a lot with my berries. Once I finish with this bag and my other bag, I'm probably done with mushroom compost. Not because it's bad, but because my compost bin, I'm not sure if you saw the last video I did on compost, but I pulled out about 10 Home Depot buckets, or Lowe's buckets if you prefer, of compost out of my compost bin. and I have a whole lot more coming. So, being the cheap guy that I am, not cheap, I'm just frugal. I don't see any need to spend money on things that I can provide for myself. Another reason why I try to grow my own food. I can't grow it all. I acknowledge that. I cannot grow all of my food. But I can grow a nice portion of it, cut my budget, and most importantly, I can eat well, and I don't use pesticides. I don't use all these strange solutions. As best I can, I use natural stuff on my fruit trees, my berry plant, throughout my vegetable garden. I try to use natural stuff, and guess what? I've never had a recall on anything I've grown. Not once. So think about that. When was the last time you heard of some food being recalled? Everything from eggs to chicken to lettuce. I mean, it's hot out here, folks. That's why I tend to wear these shirts, because they don't so sweat, but it's hot. But yeah, I mean, imagine this. You're eating a salad and your tomatoes that came from the grocery store had a recall. Or the lettuce in the salad had a recall. Or the, what is it? I had a lettuce, I had salad the other day. The olives had a recall. Or the pickles, whatever had a recall. It's getting ridiculous with these recalls. I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're at least letting us know that there's a problem, but I'd rather not have that problem. And I firmly believe that the more natural you go, sorry, being rude again. I firmly believe that the more natural you go with where your food comes from, the better your food's going to be, the healthier you're going to be. The benefits are just immeasurable. They really are. So if you can grow your own food, grow your own food. And I believe most people can. You may not be able to grow as much as you would like to. If you're living in an apartment, I've seen plenty of people that have just put out tomato plants. They've grown full-size tomatoes. They've grown cherry tomatoes. They've grown berry bushes in pots. They have literally taken these buckets and put trees in them. And if they keep the tree pruned down, they're able to grow a good sized tree. Obviously, it's not going to get as big as the one that you would have in your yard, because they need to keep it pruned down when they're on a deck. But they've been able to prune it down, keep it a reasonable size, and get fresh, healthy fruit. And they've never had a recall. So, we're down to some of the final moments of her planting. For my soil acidifier, I'm going to take, this is a pint here, and my dog just ran off. They were over here. I don't know if you saw them, but they were over here and they just ran off somewhere. They're always on guard duty. So I hope they don't start barking in a minute, because the neighbor's dog, there they go. They don't like my neighbor's dog that lives back there. I'm not even sure it's the same dog over all these years. But she walks the dog back there, and they let her know that they're not welcome. Anyway, about a cup of soil acidifier. I'm not overly concerned with getting this mixed in all the way down to the bottom of the pot. But I'm going to mix it as best I can. To get this all the way down here. I think I can get all the way down to the pot, down to the bottom. Yeah, this should work. Now the reason I added sand and perlite is because I'm trying to increase the drainage of my soil mixture. Pineapples don't like to sit in wet, damp soil, or as they say, they don't like to have wet feet. They can end up with root rot. Last thing you want is having root rot on this plant, because you could kill it. So that's why I added the sand and the perlite. They're great for drainage. So you have acidic soil and you have well-drained soil. Unlike some other plants, pineapple plants don't actually mind it if you let the soil dry completely out. At least almost completely out. Like I said, if they don't want wet feet, you can let it come close to dry. So when your soil gets to the point where it's a little dry, that's when you're going to water this guy. Depending on your climate, you might need to water it every week, but probably not much more than that. So let's get this baby planted. Now you may notice that I didn't mention anything about fertilizer. I only mentioned compost because compost helps to add nutrients to the soil, slowly but surely. I should just stop talking at this moment. Let me put this guy in here, or this girl in here, and then I'll get back to the talking. Yeah. So I patted the soil down some, get it nice and solid in there. Now, before I completely forget, and well, actually I did forget because this is like days later. But anyway, I mentioned pups. This plant, once it gets to the point where it's producing a pineapple, you will find what are called slips and or pups. They will either come from the side of the plant, like from, so actually I have a picture. So take a look at that. Those are slips and pups that you're looking at. And those are what's going to grow up from the plant once the plant gets to the point where it can produce a pineapple. You can take those slips and or pups, plant them just like we did this one, and get 2, 3, 4 more pineapples. And from those you get 10, 20, whatever. It keeps going and on. It's like a circle of life. And that's what we're trying to do. We're growing food. It's the circle of life. Hey, what can I tell you? So it's not just one pineapple that you're getting, but you can get multiple pineapples over the years. Some people have 10, 15 pineapples growing in the yard, maybe even in the house. Me, I don't have space in the house for a bunch of them. But if I lived in a warmer environment, like in zone 11 or in zone 12, I'd have them all over the yard. And I would protect them from my dogs, because he's sitting right there waiting to get to this guy here. But no, that's not what happened. Anyway, I didn't want to forget that again, and back to the video. So the funny thing about pineapple plants is they absorb a lot of the nutrients through their leaves. So I'm going to use a liquid fertilizer. Actually, I'm going to use fish fertilizer. I'm going to mix that up and pour it directly over the top. Of course, the liquid will go down to the soil too, but they will absorb a nice amount of fertilizer through the leaves. So instead of, some plants, you want to water them from down and not get the leaves wet. Like with tomato plants, with these, you want to get the leaves wet because they will absorb that fertilizer through the leaf some. And I'll just use that every 3 to 4 weeks. And 6, maybe 9 months from now, yeah, 6 to 9 months from now, I will add some, or at least start adding fertilizer that will help the plant push out a bloom. That bloom is what's going to help produce your pineapple. Like I said in my original video when I talked about, is it really worth it? You get to choose. Is it worth taking 18 months, 2 years, maybe even a little more to produce one pineapple? You know, for me, this is kind of fun. It's also shows a commitment. It's a great thing to do with kids. If you're a school teacher, maybe you get them together, put the pineapple in water, get the roots going, plant it. You can do this through the school year. And maybe by their second year in your classes, your students will be coming back looking at the pineapple that they helped grow. For me personally, I just want you to do it for the audience, because I know there are a lot of people, and yes, there were a lot of people that saw my video on how to plant a pineapple plant, but I know there are a lot of people out there searching on how to do it or if it actually works. So I'm here to show them that yes, it actually works, and over time we'll have a pineapple, and I'm going to cut that baby on video. It's going to be a long time from now, but yeah. And we'll be checking in on this young lady often. And please, as I always say, let's get out there and get a little dirty. Yeah.